Hello everyone, and a very warm welcome to today's webinar. Auracast is Airborne, where we are taking a closer look at the case study of the implementation of Auracast at Frankfurt Airport. Now, what if you could get airport announcements straight into your hearing device? What if you didn't have to rely on speaker systems and busy, noisy airport acoustics? Well, today you will learn how Auracast is now gone live, providing travelers with clear, personalized audio, and you will hear about unique airport challenges, why Auracast was chosen over alternative solutions, and how the installation was prepared and executed, and what the operators and users have learned and are experiencing today. So my name is Jeppe Lindegaard. I am Head of Branding, Strategy and Events here at Danish Sound Cluster, where we aim to unite sound people to ignite collaboration and curate inspiration across audio, acoustics and the hearing industry. Now, in the panel today, we have just one expert, which is Thomas Olsgaard. And Thomas, you can now turn on your video so we can see you. And Thomas is Principal Engineer at GN Group, specializing in new product development using wireless solutions. With close to 20 years of experience at GN and a 10-year-long background at Nokia, Thomas has a rich experience in the field of audio and use of technology in audio products. So, Thomas, thank you very much for joining us today. You are a familiar face here in the Danish Sound Cluster community. And the last time we saw you was back in November at Danish Sound Day, where you were part of an interesting panel discussing the potential of Auracast and some of the practical use that we see today. Now, what was one of your most important takeaways from that day, meeting people from all across the sound industry, discussing Auracast? What did you take with you that day?
Thank you, Jeppe. Yes, I think it was a very interesting day for me. There was much more people than I expected that wanted to hear about Auracast. And there was also quite a few new products at display, or they were informed to me, explained to me. And it just speaks about the rollout is really ongoing, and you need to keep updated all the time to see what is latest news in Orcast. Great day. I can only recommend coming back on that one next opportunity there. So yeah.
Great. So this is a topic that we will follow ongoing. So I'm sure it's not the last time that we'll see you, Thomas. But with that, I will leave the floor to you, and you can start your presentation and inform us all about this case study at Frankfurt Airport. And in the meantime, while Thomas is preparing his presentation, questions are very welcome from you in the audience. So please share your questions in the Q&A, and I will take those questions when we wrap up the webinar. So take it away, Thomas.
Thank you, Jeppe. So today I'm going to talk about the Auracast that is airborne and that happened in Frankfurt Airport. So as mentioned, my background here, it seems like my destiny is connectivity, and I can top this up with I'm also a private pilot. So going behind the scene in an airport is truly interesting for me as well. Today, I will just recap and give a short overview of Auracast for those of you who are not familiar with it yet. Then I'll give a short 2 words about the previous solutions, so you have that as a reference. Thirdly, I'll go through the airport challenge and also point to the solutions we already worked with that provided us some insight and that helped us make this happen. Finally, some learnings and next steps on Auracast. But let's start to it. The loop system is like the reference. And as an engineer, this is super cool. It was made in 1938 and is actually around still today and doing a good job. But as anything else, we need to get into version 2, into a more digital assistive listening system. And here we had different opportunities. We could go for a proprietary standard, we could go for industry standard, and here we selected Bluetooth. And we are also in the works of getting an IEC standard for the installation in place so that it becomes much more structured when a building owner wants to put up something. The ultimate goal is to get a harmonized standard so that in EU and for that matter other places, other regions, you can refer to this and you know when you put it up in a venue or airport or wherever it is, you know what you get, you know how it works. So that's well underway. And if we just look at the, let's see. The past, we started out with the telecoil, a strong workhorse. Our recommendation is still, if it's there, don't turn it off, use it. You will see later in airports, the problem is to find it. And especially if you're changing gate, it's a little difficult to bring your telecoil with you. Late 60s, FM systems came around, proprietary, but basically didn't get that much traction because, yeah, it's a proprietary system. We also see infrared systems in some regions, not so widely used because you need a dedicated receiver if you have hearing aids. Lately, we saw audio over Wi-Fi, but they are challenged by the latency. So in real-time sound systems, it's not really an option. And then Auracast came around, and that is perceived as the digital successor to the telecoil, and that's the one we are going to see going forward. Hopefully, this will last at least 20 years, so we don't need to make new standards all the time. So it's based on Bluetooth low energy audio, and that takes a new codec that gives you higher quality. It gives you lower power consumption that is very needed on hearing aids and also earbuds. You have the multi-stream, so you can stream to hearing aids, earbuds, anything that is hearable, wearable. And we also have a standard for hearing aids, ensuring that you can connect to hearing aids so that the disabled or hearing impaired are considered already day one. On top of all this, we have the Auracast, and this is the enhanced listening, and we perceive it as the next generation assistive listening. More features are coming on the Auracast, and I can just jump to the next slide here. I just need to get rid of this box. Okay, so Auracast is expressed often in three cases. The one is you share your audio to select group of people. So you have a password typically, so you can listen into a movie, whatever you're playing on your laptop or whatever it might be. Then you have the public announcements, typically in a train station or an airport. And thirdly, just all the silent screens we see around can become unmuted and you can stream. So when you see the news, and if it doesn't have subtitles, you can actually stream the sound and hear what is going on. So that's just in short the use cases. What we see is, of course, that would be something used in cinemas, waiting rooms, churches, sports bars, but also in a seminar you might be speaking English, but there might be Spanish listeners, Chinese listeners, and so forth. And with simultaneous translation, you can stream that in parallel streams. So this is not just for hearing impaired, this is for everyone. And you see these features is something probably we will see within the next 3 to 5 years. We also see today, if you go into Google Maps, you can get the overview, you can find the web page for a location, but if you go into the section about, you will notice if they have Auracast installed there. It's helpful for people who benefit from having this Auracast stream. This is widely backed, so it's not a few companies or the hearing industries coming up with this, but truly all tech companies are joining forces here, and that's a big benefit because now it's not a technology for few people, it's actually a technology for all. So it's a pleasure to see how well the hearing industry, but also the tech industry, have been working together on this one. Now, let me jump into the airport challenge, what the webinar is about today. The challenge was very different from what I expected. I perceive an airport as something where you have recurrent announcements, callings, and so forth over the PA system. But I quickly learned, yes, that was the past. But in fact, the stress level is high in an airport. And one of the ways to calm down people is to make it quiet. People are very busy. People have maybe small children they have to take care of. They are late for the flight. It's first time they are in the airport and don't know exactly where to go. So therefore, many airports try to lower the noise, lower the announcements, limit it to what you really need and not more. So they are looking for an announcement system. It has to be something that works for all, easy to use, and of course, it needs to fit the infrastructure they have today, else it becomes very expensive. Reliability goes without saying, because if people don't get the message and don't catch the plane, you don't have much customer satisfaction. So that was the list of things we need to have in mind when we are going to install this and set it up. So we were building on past experience, and the past experience, as an example, came from Sydney Opera House, where you also need to put it up in a larger area. You need it to be with good coverage, really working, and you need to have a decent sound quality. In Sydney, of course, it has to be perfect sound quality. But here we understood what does it take covering an area, and how do we help people connecting if they don't know beforehand how to connect to Auracast. We also worked with Bristol Temple Meet, the train management there, earlier on, and here it's obvious it's not so easy to let people know how to use Auracast. You really, really need to make it simple, because there are no way people are starting reading informations or instructions or whatever. And that's one of the things we also brought with us further on to the airport. When we look into the airport infrastructure, we had there a consortium consisting of Frankfurt Airport, of course, but also the local University of Applied Science, together with the company CITIC that are doing the infrastructure. And they introduced us to how these things are working, and quite fast I learned that there's a lot of players in an airport, so it's not just a microphone and a loudspeaker and an amplifier in between. A lot of things are going on, also handling the automated messaging and so forth. But having that understood, we started to work our way, and CITIC were the company who were heading this one, and of course our role in this were to support them on the Auracast side, but also ensuring hearing impaired get a good experience, and we help them work out the communication and so forth for the users. I had the opportunity before all this to do a small radio check 4 o'clock in the morning because my flight was cancelled. So I had to wait in the airport until the first flight in the morning. This is what it looks like. You see a lot of metal in the ceiling. You see a lot of other radio systems. And if you look out the window, you will see radars and whatnot. So you're wondering how robust is Auracast actually. It seemed to be truly robust. Of course, in the morning, 4 o'clock, there are not many people in the airport. So obviously, we have fair results here. There was a very good coverage, despite there was some rooms in the middle and so forth. I noticed even in the restroom there was a good coverage, which might come in handy if you need to go to the restroom while you're waiting for your aircraft. But first experience here worked very well on the range and connectivity, and after that we continued. And I have a small video here that explains very well what is on play in an airport and what is it that matters. So different stakeholders are bringing that to the table here. So let me try to play the video.
Welcome to Frankfurt Airport. Today marks an important milestone in airport communication. This is the world's first Auracast deployment in an airport environment for manual as well as automated announcements streamed directly to the passenger's personal devices. Bluetooth Auracast is a new technology that makes public announcements more accessible and clearer, whether you're wearing hearing aids, earbuds, or headphones. So let's take a look. Here we are at one of the 2 pilot gates at Frankfurt Airport, gate A16. At this gate, passengers can easily opt into the Auracast stream using the QR codes on the wall or with their general Bluetooth settings. Here we have our IP paging station, which is not just a microphone, it's also an Auracast transmitter. So from now on, all passengers will be able to listen to the Auracast stream of manual as well as automated announcements triggered by our PAX guide system here in the whole gate area, as a broadcast is distributed here everywhere.
Auracast is no longer a technology of the future. We're seeing it here and now. We're seeing installations everywhere. Auracast has been installed in theaters, concert halls, stadiums, museums, ballparks, and now at Frankfurt Airport here in Frankfurt, Germany, which is so exciting, the world's first airport to have this technology.
Firstly, everyone's using smartphones and headphones, but the real potential that really comes with Auracast plus consumer devices is really that those devices are personal to the specific person who's using them. And that's where lots of information is available. It's where you can then expect, for example, if you have an announcement that is translated specifically to your native language so you can understand it intuitively and you feel more relaxed.
At Frankfurt Airport, we've got a challenge always that, especially for our guests who have a hearing impairment or similar things, it's very important for us to get them the important announcements. And that was always a challenge because we as an airport, we're always busy, it's always loud and announcements are not very well understood. So we were looking for a technology which could help us. And with Auracast, that was the perfect development which we could use, especially to get these messages across. Of course, it is important for that we have the right partners to make that possible. And we can test it, of course, here at Frankfurt Airport, but we need to have a chance that we can roll it out, that it really has a benefit. And Auracast was then perfect with the partners like Google, like Samsung, like GN, also like CITIC, really to make it happen. So therefore it was for us a big opportunity for our guests to provide a better service, especially for people who have a hearing problem.
I absolutely love that people can bring their own devices and tune into an Auracast. So that could be headphones or earbuds or hearing aids or cochlear. It's brilliant in that sense. But the other thing, the great party trick of Auracast is you can have multiple streams. At an airport, that means you can have Auracast in different languages. But in theatres and concert halls and other places like that, you can have audio description streams as well. So it's absolutely brilliant technology. It is going to transform the world.
Okay, so this explains the different players. What are they looking for in an airport, and what matters and what not? And one of the things we gained from this installation is that we got a lot of user benefit, and it helps us because we can come up with so many great ideas and solutions in the lab. But reality is reality, and that's where you need to test things out. It became one more time clear to us. It has to be super easy to connect. The QR code works very well because people are familiar with that. The name of the stream have to resonate very well with what you are looking for or what you want to stream to them. So it has to be gate 17. Don't mess it up with a lot of other naming or additional text or whatever. So when you're scanning for it, call it exactly what you expect people to look for. We also learned the speech understanding is now very good. Especially when people are lining up, there's a lot of background noise, children being impatient, noisy, and so forth. It becomes very important for especially hearing impaired to hear what is being said. That works very well. We also noticed, because we had different information tracks and so forth, that for foreigners from another region, especially, it can be helpful with a little bit extra information. Now there's this opportunity to tailor this, and probably something for the airport operators to figure out what are the right messaging and so forth to send to the users. For the airport operators, it's evident it has to be very clear information on where to find Auracast, and QR codes is necessary. That's simply mandatory because that works for sure. Probably they also need AI and machine translation. Because that's it goes without saying, on an aircraft you might have people not understanding English, not understanding the language of the destination. So here you have an opportunity to transmit it translated in 2, 3, 4, 5 languages. That can be very helpful. Latency, and especially the latency, because you have the sound coming out on the speakers from the counter, and you also have the direct stream. And here you need to work on things. Today, in the infrastructure, it runs through some servers before it comes to the streamer, so that has to be worked out the right way. Also, the remote information that they are transmitting needs to be considered. How do we route that all the way out? But basically, it seems at least a large part of the airports have the infrastructure ready. It's just a matter of wiring it up the right way. Maybe add a computer that can do some automated translation and send that out as well. The airport operators were really surprised about how low installation time is, and thereby also a reasonable cost on things. Today, if you want to change something in an airport and you need to move the loop, the teleloop there, it's just very expensive, and they hesitate to do it because they have to rip up the floor, put it somewhere else, and maybe the layout doesn't fit the layout of the building very well, and thereby it becomes a tedious task. Whereas with Auracast, that is airborne, you just put 2 screws on the wall and you're good to go. 2 words about the next steps in Auracast. We do have the QR codes out. They have been proved well working, easy to use and adopt. We are still polishing a little bit on the first release of the standard, but basically it's well in place. Go use it. Right now we have in the works the upcoming IEC standard. So that is for reference, IEC 60.118-17, and it speaks about the transport layer from the transmitter input to the received signal. So this is a standard you can use as a building owner and specify the installation according to this standard. And the one quoting know exactly what to quote for. And after installation, there will be a measurement report. And if it's according to the standard, then you can also claim payment for what you delivered. That is expected to be released in next year, so not far from now. The next thing we are working on is covering of large areas. What we did in Frankfurt were on gate level, but you would actually like to be able to walk from one gate to another gate and being connected all the way without needing to consider if you are still connected or you need to one more time connect at the next gate. So in airports, they talk about from curbside to aircraft. And this is where you need to help people, guide people, make sure they don't get lost on the way. And here they see Auracast as very helpful on your boarding card or your ticket or whatever you get from the airline company. We envision there will be a QR code, and at the curbside, a drop-off in the airport, you can scan it and you're connected. You walk your way to the gate and you continue getting the information relevant. And potentially, if airline companies would like that, you can continue staying on that channel and get information in the airport. I talked to a couple of airline companies, and they are very occupied with helping hearing impaired and in general disabled getting on board the aircraft, staying informed and so forth. So they are as well informed as anybody else. We have another feature upcoming, and that's a personal Auracast code you can use at the ticket office or counter. And by sharing your QR code to a scanner, you don't even need the smartphone, then you can get connected to the person at the counter expediting you. So also a very helpful feature we expect to see in airports and other places. So this is my last slide, underlining Auracast, great technology. It's here, it's in play. You can try it out yourself in Frankfurt Airport where it's installed. And I believe you will soon see it in more airports around the world because it seems to have a good traction there. So that concludes my speech. Handing over to you, Jeppe.
Thank you very much, Thomas. And if you have any questions out there, now is the time to ask them in the Q&A. But before I'll take questions from you in the audience, I have myself a couple of questions. Now, the first one being, since Danish Sound Cluster is obviously based in Denmark, I'm curious to know when we'll see this at Copenhagen Airport.
I'm not sure I can talk about that, but let me put it this way. I think they are well aware of this is going on. And what I have learned from the projects I have been involved in, it goes through some steps. First step is to understand what is the technology about. Second step is to figure out, is this just a gadget or is this long lasting and something we can build on? And when they're saying, okay, we are going to have this, then they have to specify it and put it into the budget for next year. And then they're ready to install it. So it takes a little bit time. But this is Denmark. I mean, Copenhagen Airport. I have a hard time imagining we should wait long for that, but let's see.
Let's see. Okay, that's okay. Now, I'm curious to know when we'll see an airport with no speaker announcements. For example, Frankfurt Airport. Is that even an option?
I think
Everything is going through audio devices and other kinds of information to reduce stress, like you said.
I think I'm speculating now. I think it's likely we are going to see it. I talked to airline companies and they told me San Francisco Airport is where they are experimenting with what they call the silent airport. How silent they can make it, I don't know, but apparently this was water on their mill because that was exactly what they looked for. So
Right.
let's see.
Let's see. Okay, we have a question here from John Hammer who's asking, when will we see Apple support? Now, that's also one thing I was curious about because I must admit I have AirPods myself. So when?
Yeah, it's a very good question, and many have asked this. I would say only Apple know when they will bring it out, but I can say for sure Apple are very committed to supporting hearing impaired and they're committed to helping disabled. So therefore, it is on their agenda. It's not like, we go for something else. That would surprise me. I don't know when they're coming. I think Auracast can be down to having the next platform made ready for it, and the current can't do it or something like that. So I would say keep an eye out for new platform updates from Apple and other manufacturers as well, because that might be the trigger for Auracast.
Right. Well, we'll have to stay alert on that. Now, as I understand, Auracast is not the only solution out there. Is that a challenge for a streamlined solution that is can be applied everywhere and can be used by everyone? That there might be different players in this field and different solutions, and how would you manage that?
In practice, these assistive listening systems are independent. So you can have both the loop running and the Auracast as an example, or an FM system or whatever. And I actually recommend do not turn off your loop system. Keep both, and it's very easy to add the Auracast transmitter to your loop system as an example. Because those who might not have hearing aids with the Auracast yet, they can use the loop system and get help from that. But I also have to say, I asked myself, or I tried myself in Nice Airport, I think it was. I saw the loop sign, and then I looked for the loop and I couldn't find it. Then I asked one of the guys working there where the loop was, and he looked at it and he said, "Yeah, well, I wonder where it is." And then it's in practice difficult to use the system. Auracast is for sure way easier to use, so I think it will get fast traction there.
Right. Okay, so we have a question from Christos Kutavas, who's asking, can this technology be implemented also in train stations, metro stations, and other public spaces?
Yes, it's on the way on train stations, and I know already now for new construction work, they refer to the upcoming IEC standard. And it's quite interesting to ask for a contractor for a quote on a standard that is not released yet. But since this takes a little bit time, I've been consulted in some of these new enterprises, and they're saying we need to know what is becoming. We need to prepare the infrastructure. We need to prepare the contractors and so forth to make sure we are not 5 years behind when we open up. So it's for sure on the way. And also again here, the roaming becomes very important, because as you move down the platform, you would need to hand over to the next streamer as you walk down the platform there. Yeah.
Great. And what you were discussing at the Danish Sound Day that we mentioned before your presentation, you were talking about implementing this at the Royal Danish Theatre. Can you mention just a couple of other ongoing projects where Auracast is being implemented?
Yes, we see them a lot now in small theaters, cinemas around in Denmark, because the installation cost is low. And if you go to one of the local companies or foundations, you can ask a lump sum large enough to buy the equipment. And if the cinema or theater have a technical guru there or a technical skill guy, you can actually put it off at a very reasonable cost. So we see that. We also see at universities and schools people with ADHD or maybe some other challenges with too much sound. You get it streamed directly, you put on your headset, and you can exclude sound from other people. So those that, due to autism or whatever it could be, maybe didn't have a fair chance for a university degree, they basically have an opportunity now because they can attend these lectures and so forth by assistance from this technology. So a lot of experimenting is going on, a lot of Groups of people are saying we need that. Even vision impaired that hear well are using this for theaters. And the reason is, of course, you can get an extra information streamed about what is going on the stage and so forth.
Right. Thank you, Thomas. Now, if you have any questions out there, now is the time to ask them, because we're about to wrap up today's webinar. But I have a final question for you. Before we went on here, you said that you usually, hang out in the lab and is very, technical and, sit there in your dark room without sunlight.
Yeah.
What excites you most about going out into the real world and seeing this technology being used out there?
Well, it's super cool to be in the lab and develop stuff and see it works, and you can play with it, and your colleague in the other end and all this. Super cool. But when you get out there and you experience people suddenly are able to do things, they can go to the theater that they didn't do before simply because they couldn't hear well. Or if you in the airport, you see that your QR code, that your posters and so forth, it works, and it works for people, and people are like, yes, this is what I've been waiting for. What took you so long? I mean, that's a big reward in itself. That's what brings me back to the lab again and say, hey, let's go further on with the next step.
All right. Now, this apparently triggered some people in the audience to ask a couple of questions. So let's take them before we wrap up. I have a few questions actually from Cindy Lin, who's her first question is, how does the streaming connection work when moving from one transmitter to another?
Well, the way it works is not like on a cellular system where the base station is controlling things. The way it works here is basically that you're listening for other transmitters in the vicinity or in the neighborhood. And then the device, the listening device, hearing aid, earbud or headset, is picking the strongest signal. So you're jumping to the next transmitter. And it's the challenge is how to do that without glitches in the transmission. So that's what we are working on. But so far, the test we have seen looks very promising. It seems to appear very close to what you have on a smartphone when you drive around town in your car and using your phone. You never hear glitches anymore. So we are close to that.
Great. And her next question is, are there limitation of challenge on transmitters? Hope I asked that correctly.
Yes, of course there are challenges on the transmitters. The obvious challenge is there is a certain latency from you have an audio signal, you need to code it, transmit it, decode it, and bring it to your audio device again. And if you combine that signal with the ambient signal, then you need potentially a certain distance between your source and yourself to avoid this metallic or echo sound. And it has to be 4 or 5 meters or something like that. But then again, if you are that close, 4 or 5 meters, even if you're hearing impaired, you might be able to hear well enough. Or if you're hearing impaired, you could potentially consider to turn off your ambient microphones to avoid you get 2 signals received at the same time.
Right. So her final question is, can the receivers, for example, the earbuds, can they be connected to several casts simultaneously?
In principle, yes, it's absolutely possible. It all comes down to your radio, how much computing power, how much battery you have. But there are no limitations in the standard protocols or anything that would prevent you from that. And potentially this could be a very interesting scenario to look into.
And where could you see that be used or be beneficial?
That could be again in an airport. So you're listening to the silent screen, streaming one program, one audio source, and on top you have the information service coming out of the PA system that you either blend in or you mute your stream and then you get the PA information. So that's two streams you would be connected to in parallel.
Right. Thank you, Thomas, very much for
a pleasure.
Your wonderful presentation and your great answers to this discussion. We will wrap up the session today, and I would just like to share with the audience that, well, first of all, I'd like to share just Thomas's information. If you have any questions, I'm sure he's open to your inquiries.
Please reach out.
Yes, and appreciate you once again, Thomas, and GN also for helping this webinar happen today. Now we have other events coming up at Danish Sound Cluster. Next one being the General Assembly, where you are very welcome to join online if you are a member of the Danish Sound Cluster, and you can join to hear more about what's going on behind the scenes and invite new board members to Danish Sound Cluster. And we have, for those of you interested in accessibility, we have a great Sound Discovery, a physical meeting at TV2 at Teglholmen, May 20th, where we will look into the creative potential with audio description, which is demanded by EU and all film production. So that should be very interesting to have a conversation about that. Take a look at the program on our website. We also have a webinar about acoustic design for multi-purpose sports arenas, and in the sports world we also have a webinar about sports audio experiences. So please check it out on our website and sign up if you're interested. We can be found at LinkedIn, Instagram, and this webinar will be available on YouTube shortly after this session. And sign up for our newsletter if you haven't already, and stay up to date with all of our events. And thank you all for coming today, and hope to see you some other time again. Thank you.